I swear, if I hear one more person say Agile is dead, I think I'm going to scream. But I did have someone ask me a valuable question. They said, what happens once Agile coaching stops? I hear many of my colleagues in the Agile coaching and training profession saying that coaching is at an all time low. That organizations, now that everybody's working for hybrid and working from different locations, that there's just not the same effect of having a coach on the ground that's able to help you get things done. But the question then becomes, okay, if Agile coaching said, what is it evolving into? So I've got news for you. I see more than just that evolving. I see lots of movement and evolution in the Agile workspace, especially now with the advent of AI really making a meaningful impact. And with people trying to reinvent their roles or figure out what they're doing, there's just a lot of opportunity for us to really, dig our shoes in, dig our boots in, and figure out where we are. So the question becomes, okay, now that we know what we should be asking, um, we need to sit down and say, can we move forward on to what's next? And do we know what's coming? Do we know what's next? My prediction is in the future, the Agile coach really does hone and become more of the delivery leader. They move from being a cheerleader on the sidelines to an active player in a role of execution. And I'm not saying it's the right choice. I'm just saying it's the choice because I think that more and more organizations are trying to scale back on the number of people they need for delivery. And I think this is just a common sense approach. So the idea that a Scrum team can be entirely self-organizing and act in a silo, that's long since been dead. That's been gone a long time, right? So if that's gone, then the question becomes, how can we run when we know that no single team knows everything about the business, the customer, the regulatory environment, the technology environment? People just don't have all that information. And we've talked about the concept of Bafata, which is a pretty incredible concept because that works no matter what your organization is and what type of product or service you build. There's always someone who picks up those roles there. But you need to understand whether your organization is using pure Scrum, Safe, Scrum at Scale. I don't care what you're using. You need to figure out where you are and how Agile coaching impacts what you're doing. And if Agile coaching impacts what you're doing, and what are you going to do about it, right? How are you going to proceed once you understand? Those are the questions. So when I chose the term, quote, Agile delivery lead, I kind of think that's a stepping stone between the old school Scrum Master and a really good Agile coach. And it works, the term works on both Agile projects as well as waterfall projects. So what I'm saying is it gives you the most diverse opportunity to apply this, and it lets you really hone in on what you need to do to change the minds of others to get them in the same mindset. So Scrum.org has a quote. It says, one of the critical flaws with waterfall is its inflexibility. Scrum Alliance has one that says waterfall is a project management approach in which people work on one stage at a time, and the next doesn't start until the previous one finishes. The stakeholder or customer requirements are set at the beginning of a project and create a linear path for the project to follow. But if you're looking at like a DevOps pipeline, you're looking at source, build, test, deploy. One might argue it's the perfect waterfall. How about this? If you look at my Agile projects, I always say initiate, discover, develop, and then release. What I'm trying to say is even some of the best Agile projects in the world follow some form of waterfall tendency. And it's not saying that every Agile project is waterfall, but if you think about how Agile projects came to be, they basically were miniature waterfalls. It was just taking everything that you know, building the right thing, getting feedback, inspecting, adapting, and trying again. So if you think about it from that perspective, Agile industry shouldn't be all up in arms, but they are. They're trying to figure out how to address this discovery, this aha. I think the part that's so funny for me is I first said that Agile was a series of miniature waterfalls. Are you ready for this? In 2007. That's 17 years ago, I said this. And now, 17 years later, we're having a conversation about it. It's just amazing because I don't think that in all things I'm 17 years ahead of my time, but in this subject, I was definitely 17 years ahead of my time. So now we have to talk about that full-blooded, full-bodied PM skills that boil down to governance, stakeholder management, value management, scope and schedule management, risk management, team management, change management. And what I'm finding is that more and more Agile projects today are starting to say, let's focus on Agile change management. Let's talk about what that looks like. Let's talk about how change management impacts our Agile project. They start talking about, let's have a product owner meeting where we talk about governance and stakeholders, risk management, right? It's just so interesting to me to see all these different things creeping back in when in actuality, I'm going to let you in on a secret. They've been here all along. Shh, don't tell anyone. But in the grand scope of things, the traditional project manager, that role is definitely seeing its, I don't want to say dying days, but it's seeing a day where it has to reinvent what it is or else it will be extinct. And this is where you start talking about things like who has authority over design, who has authority over change, who has authority over delivery. Is there a PMO and what do they do, right? Is there an Agile delivery office? All of these things, an Agile Center of Excellence. Man, I can go down the list with you. And if you look at each one of these individually and talk about what they are and what they can do, then you need to figure out where you stand and what you can do. So if you think about the term that they're out there, like Agile delivery lead, that person's going to help build team performance and help increase, the ability for the team to work well together. They're going to help build a roadmap to make sure that everything that the team is being asked to do is feasible and that's not overlapping, overarching, or just outside of the zone of possibility. And they're going to understand the cadence and deliver things at pace to make sure we're meeting the needs, the highest needs and desires of the organization. All of those things matter, right? All of those things are going to make a difference. But it's just one of those things where if you're not prepared, you're never going to get there. So if you're trying to prepare, the first thing you need to do is act on and resolve any team dysfunctions instead of just observing it and reporting it to somebody else. Figure out what you can do to help the team work better together. Then start looking at impediments differently. Instead of looking at impediment as risk and things you want to stay away from, look at the impediment as a learning opportunity and figure out how you can grow and put it together in a risk management platform that helps you grow and think outside the box. Third, you should think outside of the team when doing any kind of increment planning. If you're not doing some form of increment planning or rapid release planning or big room planning or PI planning or forward planning, I mean, there's 100 different names for this workshop, figure out why you're not doing it and get on it, right? Understand why every team, where every team is delivering in a plan. Don't accept that Agile means we'll just make it up as we go and build the plane in the air. That's not going to work. You need to understand from a governance perspective and from other perspectives, that's just not going to fly for many people who are in a position of, oh crap, what do I do, right? And then finally, I think there's two more. You need to understand where every team is in delivering the plan and don't accept that Agile means make it up as you go, which is what we just talked about. And finally, there's one more step. I had it right. Get to know your customers, internal and external. Understand their needs, understand desirability, do a gap analysis. Make sure you understand where they are, what they're doing, and measure that gap. What I can tell you is whether you're a Scrum Master, an Agile coach, a project manager, a Agile development lead, I don't care if they call you Gummy Bear number 64. The focus here is to understand the accountabilities and responsibilities, make sure you have coverage, and make sure that you're not overlapping. And what I can tell you is if you do these things, it's really going to help you do Agile well, and it's going to help your organization be successful. That's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, learn more at AgileDad.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.